Are you wondering how you can take a boring old t-shirt like this and make it into something more like this? Then stick around because you are in the right place. Today is all about bleaching and sublimating on t-shirts. Now, if you're looking at me and being like, Sarah, I don't do sublimation, that's okay because I will give you some alternative options later on as we go through this process that you can do instead of sublimation. Although I'd have to ask why you're not into doing sublimation yet, because trust me, I waited way too long and there's so many cool things you can do with this. But let's just jump right on into it and get started, because today we are going to cover what types of t-shirts you would use for bleaching, what type of bleach to use, because believe it or not, they are not all created equally. Then we will go through 4 different techniques of bleaching your shirts. And finally, we will walk through how to put your sublimation prints on them. So let's get started. Okay, so let's first talk about what types of shirts you really don't want to use when you are bleaching and sublimating on them, okay? And that would be 100% cotton. Now, this is just one of those heavy cotton shirts from Gildan that I picked up at Hobby Lobby. It's 100% cotton. This is actually like the only shirt my kid will wear, like this style, because I don't know, she finds it very comfortable. I actually don't like wearing these shirts. They seem too stiff and everything for me, but because it is 100% cotton, as you can see, yes, you can bleach it, but you run the risk of putting holes in your shirts. So I like to grab these when I'm testing out new bleach techniques before I actually try it out on a good shirt. But I have put lots of holes in these shirts in the past, testing out things. But if you're not going to be bleaching out like the whole section here where it's completely white, and you're okay with seeing like the green patches throughout, because this isn't completely white in any spot if you would actually look at this shirt up close. So it was never really fully saturated in some of the parts. So yes, you can bleach 100% cotton, but you might put holes in it. But the second reason why you would not want to use a 100% cotton shirt when you want to sublimate on it is because you need to have a high polyester count in your shirt. So that means you need to find a blended material shirt, so like a poly cotton blend. And the higher the blend of polyester, the better, because anything lower than a 65% polyester count in your shirt will give you very dull results when sublimating on them, and then you're not going to be happy with those results. So it is safer to go with something higher than 65%. So the shirts that I like the best and recommend are the Gildan, I'll see if you can see this, soft style. And they made this print really, really tiny, but this is the 65% polyester, 35% cotton blend. Now with this, because of the polyester, it will prevent it from getting holes in, and because it's a high polyester count, you can sublimate on it. Now, one of the options I talked about earlier, instead of sublimating, would be using like infusible inks. And that would be a great option for you if you don't sublimate, but we'll cover some other ones later on as well. So where I like to get these shirts is from Jiffy.com. Now, Jiffy makes it really easy to buy their stuff because there's an app for your phone. That's kind of dangerous because I'll be out doing whatever and be like, oh, I want to make this kind of shirt. And then I go on and, buy stuff. My husband loves that, by the way. It's so convenient. But these shirts are my favorite. They are super soft and comfy. But when you are on the website purchasing your shirts for bleaching and sublimating, there are a few things you want to look for. And I'm going to put those up here now. So what you need to do is when you are on looking for your shirt, this is a Gildan G640 soft style t-shirt, okay? But you have to be aware of the fact that you can get this in 100% cotton. you can get it in a 50-50 blend. So you have to really pay attention to which shirt in the color you want you are purchasing, because if you order something and you didn't really check underneath that color which percentage of polyester you're getting, you will be very disappointed because your sublimation will not work. Like I said, it'll still bleach, but your sublimation will not work on that. So make sure you double check before you order that you are getting the one that you really, really want. And that is going to be all the colors that have the name Heather in front of it. Okay, so as you can see on here, some of these are just straight up colors, and then some say Heather with the color name behind it. That is what you want to look for. And they have so many different color options. So just scroll through all of them till you find what you want. There will be something there. And I promise you, you will get amazing results with these shirts. And they're super comfy. Like, I'm not a big t-shirt person. I feel like it's like choking me in the neck and my arms are always too tight. But these shirts are super, super comfy. Now that we are done talking about the shirts, let's go cover the bleach. Like I said, not all bleach is created equally, and that is because some of the bleaches have, like, here, let me show you, grab this one here. It's like a fresh scent. And I picked this one up at the Dollar Tree and was very disappointed when it did absolutely nothing to my shirt that I was trying to bleach. I thought, oh, I'll get the cheap stuff. Don't do it. If you've tried sublimating on a shirt before, not sublimating, sorry, bleaching a shirt before, and you were using either the Dollar Tree bleach or the lemon scented bleaches that you can get at like Walmart or wherever you shop, and it didn't work, it's not because you were doing it wrong, it was because you were using the wrong bleach. So what you want to look for is a bleach that is concentrated. Am I even pointing? No, here. Concentrated bleach, okay? It's a regular scent. That means they didn't add anything to it scent-wise. And I just use the generic stuff that's at the local store or the hardware store. You can use Clorox bleach, whatever. But your bleach does matter. Now there is also another row that you'll see at Walmart on the bottom usually that is a low splash bleach. That will not work for you. You need the straight up, pour it the normal way, super strong smelling bleach. So stay away from that low splash because it is thicker and it's not going to do what you need it to. Okay, now along with the bleach, I always have a bottle of hydrogen peroxide close by because we will cover what this is used for later on as one of our techniques. I'm going to be using this on, and we'll cover more of that later, but it is always handy to have one of these on hand. I put my bleach in just a spray bottle from the Dollar Tree. Some people like the glass amber bottles, but I find that this works fine. This is actually my hydrogen peroxide in here because I have a separate bottle for that. But when I am done bleaching and using the hydrogen peroxide, I always pour it back into the big bottle because they come in these darker, not see-through bottles for a reason, and that is to keep the sunlight and stuff out from diluting it or whatever, it affects it. So if you're using a clear bottle, pour it back in, rinse out your bottle really good. Make sure you spray the nozzle a few times while you're washing it out to clear the nozzle from the bleach or the hydrogen peroxide. That will save you from running to the Dollar Tree every other time you bleach because your bottle's clogged, okay? Also, with bleaching, I want to cover some safety guidelines, okay? A lot of times you will see people outside bleaching, and obviously when you're bleaching outside, it is well ventilated, so you don't have to crack windows or anything, obviously. If you're bleaching inside because it's in the colder months, maybe you live in Wisconsin like me and our winters are dark and cold and miserable, and I'm not sure why I'm still here, but I am. So then you kind of bring your stuff inside, it will still bleach, it just takes a really long time for it to process because there's no sunlight and whatever. But if you are outside bleaching, obviously you're well ventilated, but you should be wearing gloves, okay? I will be putting gloves on later because I know what it feels like to get bleach underneath my fingernails, and I will tell you, it does not feel good. It kind of eats away at my skin under there, and it feels like my nails are gonna peel off, and I don't really care for that. Maybe you don't mind. Some people it doesn't bother them, but I would rather be safe than sorry, so I will wear gloves, as some of the techniques we're kind of working the bleach into the shirt and not just spraying it. And then also keep in mind, if you are outside bleaching on a windy day, you might even want to consider wearing a mask, because with the bleach flying through the air when you're spraying stuff, it does fly back up at you, and you might not want to be breathing that in all the time. And also, you know, my sunglasses, those are my safety glasses for today. So put something over your eyes so that, again, if it is windy out, you are not getting that bleach flying back up into your face. Okay, so now that we have that covered, let's talk about the different techniques that we are going to do. Okay, for our 4 techniques today, we are going to be, this is a kid's shirt for one of my kids, we are going to be making a few different, like, patriotic-ish, it's almost Memorial Day, so I figured summer's coming, they could use some red, white, and blue in their life. So we are going to be starting out with a basic technique, which is great for beginners. It's super simple, and I think you guys will find it. It's actually this, can you see this? This is basic. It doesn't look, I mean, it's nothing fancy, but it gets the job done. It's one of my favorite ways of doing it. Then we will also go through like a scrunched up shirt method. We will do a folded shirt method, and then like a tie-dyed method, okay? And that's the one where the hydrogen peroxide is going to come into play. I think I'm actually gonna throw in a bonus number 5 technique for you. There's one I've been wanting to try, and I think I might do it today. It is actually a really nice sunny day outside, which, I mean, it's still technically spring here in Wisconsin, and we had a huge storm roll through the other day. So it's been a few days since I've been able to actually get outside and get some bleaching done. So I think I'm actually gonna test out a new technique that I haven't done personally yet. And I guess you'll have to just wait to the end to find out what that turns out like. So we will work through that one together. But those are the techniques that we will be working on. I've got some blue shirts, some pink shirts, and maybe a green shirt that we will be working on today. So before I head outside to get everything ready, I just wanted to say hello. My name is Sarah. If you are new here, I am so glad you stopped by. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you don't miss any of the upcoming tutorials. I try to get out something fun for you guys once a week, but again, I have kids and it's almost summer. So I try to get something out once a week. And if you've been here before and you keep coming back for more and more tutorials that we do here, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That just shows me that you guys enjoy what I'm doing here, and I will keep making stuff for you. So let's head on outside and get started. Okay, so before I actually take these out and go bleach them, I have printed out all of the sublimation designs that I will be putting on these shirts. And like I said, we're going to start with a basic bleach technique on this one here. Then this one, I will do another basic technique, but then we are going to jazz up the sleeves a little bit and do a little bit of design stuff on the sleeves, which is totally optional. Obviously, you don't have to do this, but I am going to do something different on those sleeves. And then we are going to, on this one, I think I'll do the folded method and then the scrunched up method. And here we will do that bonus one that I haven't tried yet, but I am excited to test out. And then I have a green shirt up here that I will be doing the tie-dye method on, but that one will not get a print as of right now. Maybe I'll change my mind later, but that one will just be tie-dyed. Now, if you are looking at these prints and thinking that they are backwards and faded, that is because when you put these on your shirt, you flip them over, and when you heat them, they become brighter. So you always want to print your sublimation prints backwards or mirrored image, however you want to look at it like that in terms of definition. But in my printer settings, I have my sublimation printer set up so that they always are flipped horizontally, and that just flips the image. So I don't have to worry about ever forgetting to do that when I print and then have to reprint it. So we will go ahead and get set up to start bleaching. Okay, so here we are finally outside, and I have our first shirt that we are going to do the basic technique on. Now I'm just sliding a Tupperware container cover thing inside this shirt, but I did find that it works better with cardboard because that bleach just kind of sits and pools on top of that container between the shirt and the container. So I would just go and use cardboard. That would help the bleach evaporate faster. But here I am just going to be marking out where I need my bleached out white square to go. This is one of the kids' shirts, so it's not going to be as large as some of the other ones. I don't usually use a template, but I will just use my ruler just to make sure that I have a big enough space here for it. And I'm just going to spray this down with bleach inside that square. And then I will take the spray bottle and just kind of spritz around the shirt to add some more bleach spots throughout the top of this shirt. Now the container cover that is in between the shirt here isn't the full size of the shirt, but that's okay. I only need it to be underneath where that totally whited out square is going to go, because I don't want that part to bleed through to the back of the shirt. These other little spritzed areas, I don't really care if they go through, because we'll be flipping this over later and doing the back side as well. Now I'm going to slide this over so that the sun can process this bleach where it is a little bit sunnier. I have a ton of trees in my yard and the sun kept going behind them, so this took a little bit longer than it should have out here. And as you can see there, I placed a rock there because you don't want the wind to blow your shirt and fold it up on top of some of those bigger bleached areas, or you'll get big bleach splotches where you maybe don't want them. Now the next shirt is my red one that I was going to do, again, the same basic technique, and then I was going to jazz up the sleeves a little bit. So I'm going to start out by putting some cardboard inserts, and really all I did was just trace the sleeve on some cardboard and cut it out so that I can slide that into the sleeves so that my design stuff doesn't bleed through to the back side of the sleeve, because I'll actually reverse where I put the different designs front and back, so I didn't want it to go all the way through. And then I will again put a container lid in the middle of the shirt so that I can put that big white space in the middle, and then I will go ahead and spritz the rest of it. Now that all of that is in place, I'm just going to use my ruler again to kind of figure out where I want this design to go. It is more long and skinny than it is square. So using the 3-finger method, which is just basically putting 3 fingers under that collar to figure out where to place your design, I'm going to use that and then kind of make my rectangular shape here in the middle of the shirt. And then, like before, I'm just gonna fill it with bleach and let that process. Then I'm gonna move on to the designs on my sleeves. So here I have some felt, and I just cut out some strips. I wanted, because this is like a American red, white, and blue type of shirt, I wanted some stars and stripes on the sleeves. So here on one side I have the felt strips that I am going to be bleaching the sleeves, one side for stripes. And then on the other side, we will be doing something a little bit different. So I'm just trying to cover up parts of the sleeve where I don't want the bleach to necessarily go. And I'm just gonna cover these stripes, and then that will leave the part under the felt the red color of the shirt. Now on the other sleeve, I took the same pink felt, and this is just a felt that I grabbed from, like, I don't even know where I was, Joann's or Hobby Lobby or something. It's a stiffer type of felt. It's not the flimsy stuff from the Dollar Tree, but I cut out a star and then I hot glued just like a milk jug cap to it as kind of like a handle. And I'm going to use this as kind of like a stamp for on the other side of the sleeve, where then I can have some stars on that sleeve. Now it does drip a lot, so I was trying to kind of keep my hand under it when I was moving it straight from the bowl, which I poured bleach into, and then I just saturated that piece of felt. Now I do go back later and cover these stars one more time because I didn't really press down on some of the tips of the star, so they were kind of hard to make out, but you can do whatever you need to for that. And as you can see, these stripes have already started turning, and I am going to continue this shirt now with just spritzing some bleach around where I would like to add a little more white to this shirt. Now, after seeing how I'm doing this and this shirt is hanging off the table, I was getting kind of like a line from where I was spraying that bleach. So keep that in mind. Typically, I would be doing this on my driveway, but because I had so many shirts to do today and I just needed it so you guys could actually see it better, I decided to do it up here on my work table. And that was fine, but I would probably just do this on the driveway next time where everything is nice and flat. And we've had a lot of storms rolling through here, so the grass was really kind of wet yet, so that wasn't ideal, but I made it work, and it is what it is, right? It's bleaching shirts, so it's not going to be perfect, and that's what I love about it so much. You can just kind of do what you need to until you like it. So now I'm going to move some of these shirts down to the ground where they can be more in the sun, because like I said, there's a lot of trees over here, and my table, when I put it up, was in the sun, and then the sun moved and now it's in the shade. So I really needed that sun to work on these shirts because that will help it process a lot faster. It would get the job done up here on the table, but the sun works much better for this type of thing. So now I'm going to move on to the next technique, which this is going to be my other daughter's shirt for Memorial Day and all the other patriotic holidays we have coming up this summer. And on this one, I'm going to be doing the fold method. So what I'm going to start with is up here at the top, and I'm just going to slowly fold this shirt together. As you can see, I'm just grabbing a little bit and kind of pinching it up against the other parts of the shirt, and then I will go back and do the same to the sleeves so they have that line going through the shirt as well. Now you can make these folds as big or as little as you want, and you'll see when this one is done that I made kind of some tight folds here, so my lines are closer together. If you want just a few lines through your shirt, then you just don't fold as many folds as I did. Then coming back in with your spray bottle of bleach, you are just going to spray the top of this shirt where it is folded, And then once that starts to process and turn white, then I will just flip the whole thing over while keeping its folds in place. Some people will open it up and then refold it once they flip it, but I find that if I can just carefully flip this over, then my lines are a little more together on the front and the back, kind of evened out. And that is just the way that I prefer to do it. Now we are moving on to the scrunched method, and this one really you can't do anything wrong with because you are just going to take a part of the shirt and start scrunching it up together. I like to start at the top and then kind of pull the sleeves in and then work the bottom up to the top part and then kind of squish it together a little bit. And then when you are happy with the way that it is, you just grab your spray bottle and spray the top of your shirt. And same as like with the blue one, I usually just try to let this process for a little bit and start to turn white. And then like I'm doing with the blue one right now, I'm just flipping it over. And then I'm gonna fix the sleeves here. I'm just gonna spray the back side like I did the front. And I'll do the same with this scrunched up method one. Some people will, again, lay it out and then re-scrunch it, but I just kind of leave it the way it is and I'll fix it a little bit after I flip it if I need to, but I like to keep things simple. So you do whatever works best for you, and we are gonna let these process for a little bit. Now that I've sprayed both of those other shirts, I'm going to grab that first blue one where I had whited out the square. This was the first basic one, and I am just going to spray the back side of this shirt a little bit, just because I think if you don't do something to the backs, they just look unfinished. And I am going to lay this back down in the grass where the sun is the brightest right now. And don't mind my kids, they are all over the place today. It is so nice outside. And here you can see I have the blue one that was folded, and it has a lot of nice lines on this one. I will be putting a square on the front of this one as well for the sublimation print that will be on here. But I'm going to lay this back down in the grass now, all opened up so the sun can finish doing what it needs to do. Now we are going to move on to the tie-dyed shirt, and this shirt is wet, so I soaked it and then squeezed out all the water. And with this one, you just kind of have to pick where you want to start, and I'm going to start up here in the corner, and then you are just going to twist it and kind of move the whole shirt around in a circle, so keeping it as tight as you possibly can. Twist this so it kind of looks, I don't know what you would say, kind of like a rolled up fire hose, I guess. It's going to have those lines, and you want to keep this as tight as possible. And just keep spinning this around until it is all together and one big circle. And then we will get out our bottle of bleach. But this time we will not be spraying it. I have some bleach in a condiment bottle, and we are going to be saturating 1/2 of this shirt. So after you have it as tight as you think you can get it, you are just going to take that bleach straight out of the bottle. And you kind of use a lot of bleach in this process, but it is worth it when you see the results. And you are going to saturate 1/2 of this shirt. And then when that is done and it starts to turn white, you are going to flip it over while it is still all in a tight circle, and then repeat that process on the same side that you have already done, but flipped over, if that makes sense. So here it has sat for a little while and it is starting to turn white. So I just carefully flip the whole thing over, and then I'm going to soak the other side on the same half that the other side is. And just soak it really, really good. Now, at the very beginning of this video, I said that I would be using the hydrogen peroxide on the tie-dyed one, but I changed my mind and I want this to process all the way to white. Now, as it starts to process, it will start to turn like a bluish color, and you could spray it with the peroxide or toss the whole thing in a peroxide bath, and it would stop the bleaching process, which means you would still retain some of that blue color, which would give it more of a multicolored tie-dye look. But here I wanted just really the green and white, but we will use that peroxide bath later on in our bonus one. And we are just going to let this sit for a while. I am going to go flip some shirts in the background here and spray the back sides, and then we will move on. Now, I laid that green shirt out, and you guys keep an eye on that one as it processes because I royally screwed it up later, but it looked so good until I messed it up. So keep your eye on that so you can see what it actually looked like before I messed up. Now I'm taking that scrunched up method one that we did, and I just inserted one of the Tupperware, it's like a Rubbermaid container, okay? It's not like a food Tupperware, obviously, but I put that in there and I'm going to spray out the size that I need for the design that will be on this shirt. And then this one will be ready just to finish fully processing before we move on to the next step. But seriously, keep an eye on that green one because it looked so cool, and then I completely screwed up. I might have to redo that one completely, but I'll show you at the end what I did and what to avoid for next time. Now here I am grabbing another lid and sliding it in the striped, the folded method shirt, and I am also going to add the square on the top of this one, so that we can sublimate our design when this is all ready. Now here's what we have so far. These shirts are still processing, and you guys look at this green one. Isn't that so cool? Now I should have dropped it in peroxide to stop that process, but I didn't. And these are still turning white in the boxed out areas. Some of them I think I already put in the house because after, oh wait, nope, here it is. These are going to go straight into the washing machine, and because these are just for my family, I'm going to wash them in some laundry detergent and then pop them in the dryer, and then we will be ready to sublimate. But first, don't forget we had a bonus technique to try out here today, and it is the cowhide method. Now, with this one, supposedly you just scrunch it up the best that you can. This t-shirt is dry, so not like the tie-dyed one. And we're gonna just scrunch it up, and then we're going to take this bleach that is in a condiment bottle, and we're just gonna squirt this all over the top of this shirt. And with this method, you really do have to work fast, and you'll see why in a little bit here. But I actually really liked this when it was all done. I can't wait to show you guys. So then you're gonna take your gloved hands and squish all that bleach into the shirt. And as you can see, it is turning like a rust brown. Now with these shirts, the darker heather colors, this is a navy blue one, they turn a brown before they turn white. So now we're gonna flip it over and do the exact same thing. I'm going to re-scrunch it up, and then oh, here comes my kid. See, she's wearing that shirt. That's like the only shirts she wears, you guys. I wasn't joking. And we're gonna do the same thing. I'm going to soak this shirt on the back side with that bottle of bleach and squish it all together. And it gives it a really cool effect. So after we do this, we're gonna open it up and see what it looks like. I'm just kind of soaking up the rest of the bleach off the table. Sorry for the camera shaking so much. Now I'm gonna open this up and show you guys what our first step is here that we have finished. So as you can see, there's still a lot of blue showing through. And there's a lot of the rust color, which is what we want, but we don't want that yet. So we first are going to let this sit and completely process so that all of these brown rusty spots turn white. And that does take a little bit longer with these darker shirts. So just let it sit. It will change. You just have to be patient and give it some time. Now while we wait for this to finish processing, I'm going to grab that bottle of hydrogen peroxide and I am going to empty the entire container in this plastic bucket, garbage can, whatever you want to call it. And that is because when we do the second round of bleach, we want to keep that brown rusty look to it. So then when it gets to where we want it, we're going to dump it in this container of peroxide, and that will stop the bleaching process and keep that brown color that we are going for. So I'm going to take this bucket and stick it under my table in the shade just so it doesn't sit in the sun here, because it is taking a little bit of time for this shirt to go completely white. Okay, now as you can see, this is white and not brown. So here's where we need to move really fast. Taking that bleach again, I am just going to squirt it on parts of the blue here that I want to be brown. And then I'm just kind of working it in with my fingers. And the reason why you want to work fast here, now it's okay that it's not 80 degrees out because this would turn really, really quickly. So depending on how strong the heat and the sun and all that good stuff is, you'll have a little extra time, but this turns brown really, really fast. So you want to stop that process before it starts to go white. So it's only about 65 degrees here today, and like I said, I'm in and out of the sun, so I could have moved in the shade. It would have given me a little more time. But work quickly and just keep putting the bleach on the blue parts until you have it to where you think you would like it. So you can have more rust and less blue. You could have always added more the first time around to get more of the white. So however you want to do it, this actually was working really well for the first time trying this. I was pretty pleased with the end result. So as you can see there, I flipped it over, and you could throw a piece of cardboard in between here and white out a section if you're going to sublimate on it. I did not do that, but I am going to sublimate on it and just see how that turns out without whiting out a section. Now I do want to make a note of the fact that I had some issues using those container covers with the bleach. It's like it just sat in between. I wouldn't do that again. Use cardboard. The bleach can evaporate a lot faster that way because it soaks into the cardboard and doesn't just sit on that plastic. But here I am, I dumped it in the peroxide so it would stop that bleaching process. Then after everything is washed and dried, we are ready to put our sublimation prints on our shirts. Now, with the sublimation, you want to get out some of the moisture from your shirts first. So as my heat press here is heating up to the temperature, and I started it out at 400 for 60 seconds, but after the first shirt, I decided to lower it. I think this heat press is a little bit hotter than it says. So I lowered it down to 385, and that seemed to work much better. But here we are going to lay this out flat, and then I will just press it for a few seconds to get out some of the moisture and the wrinkles. And then you want to make sure you lint roll your shirt before doing sublimation. And then you also want to make sure that you put a piece of butcher paper in between your shirt layers, so underneath the top of your shirt. So that prevents if any of the ink goes through that top part of your shirt, it won't go through to the bottom of your shirt, to the back side. So that is one thing to keep in mind. And then you also want to cover the sublimation paper with a Teflon sheet or another piece of butcher paper to protect your press from any ink that might go through the paper itself. So I know that's a lot of little steps here, but if you see what I'm doing, you will understand all of the steps to this process. Now the press I'm using is a Better Sub 5-in-1 press. It's a 12 by 15, and as you can see, this one swings all the way to the back, which I really like because I don't want to be burning my hands underneath a hot plate, and this just seems to work really well for me. I really like this press. Like I said, I think it heats up a little hotter than it says, but you just have to play around with the temperature settings to figure all of that out. And then you'll see here I have my spray bottle. This is the hydrogen peroxide, which if you get any like brown scorching marks when you sublimate on your bleached t-shirts, you just spray it after you're done sublimating and you remove that paper. And then you spray the shirt and then just hover the heat plate over the top of that, and it will evaporate that peroxide and make everything white again. Don't repress it with that, but just let that heat kind of be over the top of that shirt. So now I am taping this down, and then we will press it. This one I did at 400 for 60 seconds, but like I said before, I switched that down to 385 for 60 seconds, and that seemed to work a lot better. Now, if you have not jumped into sublimation yet, you could always use infusible inks here. That would work perfect. I actually did a ton of infusible inks, and I still use that stuff because it is so easy to work with. I will link a video up at the top here for some great infusible ink projects you could do, or you could just put vinyl on here. There's a lot of different pattern vinyl or puff vinyl. There's really a lot of other options that you could use if you don't use sublimation. Now, as far as sublimation goes, the printer that I got for sublimation is an Epson EcoTank 2800, and it was super simple to set up. The ink lasts forever, and I would just highly recommend that. It has given me no issues at all. It was super beginner friendly. And I'll have that and the press linked down below if you are interested in looking at any of that. But here, as you can see, I had the print here that I forgot to lint roll, so I went back and did that. And then I'm getting ready to press this. And then I believe this one I actually had to hit it with some of the peroxide because there were a few brown scorch marks because, like I said, the press was too hot for me at 400. So a few adjustments and it fixed that. So what has been your favorite technique that we've done so far today? Now I know you haven't seen the final result yet of that cowhide one, but what was your favorite? Could you tell from just watching what we were doing here today? Leave that down in the comments below and let me know. Have you done bleaching before, or is this something that you're gonna go out and try? This is a lot of fun, and I can see myself doing a lot of these different shirts throughout the summer when it's actually nice out. If you've gotten any value out of what we've been doing here today, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming tutorials. As like I said earlier, I try my best to get at least one out every week, because I just have a lot of fun doing this, and I am glad you guys are here checking things out with me. Now the timer is done, and we are going to pop the lid on this thing and swivel that to the back, and then we are going to see what our final product is here. And this is really hot, so be careful. Now I can see down in this corner, you guys can't really see it, but there were some little brown marks. So I just hit this with the peroxide, and then as you'll see, I just swing this back over the top, but I don't press it down. And this will just help white up those white parts again. And then here it is after it is all finished. I think this looks great. My 7-year-old is going to love this for the summer and all of the fun parties we have. Now I'm just going to go through the rest of the shirts and do the same thing, and then I will show you all of the results after I am finished with that. Now that all the shirts have been bleached and washed and all of them have their sublimation prints on them, we will just take a quick look at how they turned out. Here's one of the basic ones that I had made, just the square in the middle and then some sprays with the spray bottle. Then there was the one where we added the stars and the stripes, which I actually really like. This will be a good 4th of July one. Now I do want to point out here, you could see this area here. This was because I had that container cover in between the shirt layers, and I do not think I would do that again, especially because there would just be a lot of bleach between the top layer of the shirt and in that container. And I think when cardboard is in there, it helps to kind of soak into the cardboard, but then the sun can evaporate that bleach a little bit faster. Where here it just sat and soaked in that container cover filled with bleach. And when I picked it up to move it, there was just a big pool of bleach on here, and it kind of ran down through the shirt, which is fine. Obviously it's a bleached shirt. It's not going to be perfect, but I really don't think I would use the Tupperware or Rubbermaid container covers anymore. Stick with cardboard, and I think your results will be a lot better and faster. Then I have this one here is the one that had that like scrunched up method. And you can always, if you don't have enough like scrunchy marks when you do this, you can always do it again and then add more bleach, and that will just give you more white areas. And here again, I added my beach sublimation. Now all of these designs I got off of Creative Fabrica. I will have them linked down in the description below with everything else. If you guys have not been over to Creative Fabrica yet, that is my go-to place for graphics and fonts. They have everything there. And if you get their yearly subscription, it's only like $3.99 a month, which is so worth it to me because I go there for everything. And I honestly don't even use Cricut Access because there's way more options. And I don't have to print through the Cricut software. So like you would have to set this up like a print then cut if you were going to be using the Cricut designs, where this you can just print it from wherever you like to print from. I print from the Silhouette Studio Basic, which is free for anyone to use, even if you don't have a Silhouette machine. And I find that I can just size everything perfectly in there, and it's super easy. So I would definitely try that if you haven't found a good printing solution, but I usually design a lot of stuff in Canva too. So Cricut is not always the best option when doing sublimation stuff for me. Could be different for you. You do what works best for you, but I love Creative Fabrica. They have so many cool things on there. Then here we have Party in the USA. This is for my 11-year-old. I think she's gonna wear this tomorrow for Memorial Day. And this was the folded method. And again, you can do bigger folds if you want less lines, or you can do really tight folds if you want a lot of little skinny lines. Okay? Now, the next shirt is our Cowhide shirt, which I have to add the sublimation print to, and I will make sure I put that in the end of the video when I'm done with this. But this one is by far my favorite technique. Now, because this is the front of the shirt, I probably should have made sure there was more of a white area, but I'm gonna put my print on here anyways and see how it works. You can always go back and bleach more after you sublimate, in case you didn't know that. You could put some cardboard in between here and then just white out the area over the top of your sublimation print, and then it should just bleach out the rest of it. But I really like the rusty look to this. Again, I probably would have put a little more white, but because I didn't really know what I was doing, I just kind of went for it, and I am happy with the way this turned out. The rust marks, I will say, I have heard that if you want that darker color rust, then instead of dropping it in a peroxide bath like I did to stop the process, hit it with your garden hose or run it under your faucet, put it in water, and then straight into the washing machine, because the water will still stop the process, but it won't fade out that rust color, because it was very dark before I dropped it in the peroxide. But like I said, I am not disappointed with this. I actually really like this technique and am going to be making a whole lot more of these, I believe, in the future. Okay, my last shirt, the tie-dyed method. As you can see, like I had said before, I made the mistake of not leaving this in the grass or on the driveway to dry completely. So when I picked it up, the bleach started to seep through the whole shirt. So if you remember earlier when I pointed out while it was in the grass to look at it, it had a lot more definition in these things, in the swirls and down on the bottom. But when I picked it up, I put it in a place where I was getting ready to throw these all in the washing machine, and the bleach, because it was wet, just kind of kept seeping through the parts here. So it's still okay. I know a lot of people who their kids go to a school where the colors are green and white, and I'm sure I can put something on this that they will be very happy with. So that will be okay. But again, next time I would leave this to lay out and completely dry, which is going to take a lot longer because the shirt was wet to begin with. So anyways, just a few little side notes there. Okay, so after I put the sublimation print on this one, there was still a lot of the color in here where I should have made it more white from the start, that first bleaching process time where I had more white areas. But because I didn't do that, I went back in after I sublimated and I brushed on with just a paintbrush some bleach over the sublimation print. And as you can see, it's starting to turn. And I will let this sit and process until it's completely white in that area where that print is. Just so you can see it better, there was a little bit too much of the blue and the rust in there. So it's already looking way better, and you can see that print so much more. So that is always an option. If you sublimate and you realize you should have had more white parts, you can go back over it with bleach after you sublimate. And then when this is white to the way that I like it, I will toss it back in the wash and do a rinse cycle and dry it, and this shirt will be good to go. Here is that final cowhide print that I was working on. As you can see, it did bleach out more of this inside part here, and I didn't let it go completely white because I did like that you could still see some of the coloration underneath it, but it took out enough in the areas where I needed it to so that I could actually see what was printed on the shirt. Now, I did use a paintbrush, and I've never really been a big fan of that because it gives you such defined lines. So you might want to work on that in the future, like on my next shirt with the cowhide. I would definitely make sure that when I'm in the first part of processing this white, I would stick, after I did the initial scrunching of it, I would stick some cardboard in here and then scrunch out as much of the white area as I needed so that I don't end up with all these really harsh lines. I also didn't want to spray it because I didn't want to get random spray marks around the shirt as well, if that makes sense. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about was if you do not have a sublimation printer. So some of the other options I had mentioned before was vinyl or infusible ink. But if you're trying to go with something like this, kind of a detailed print, Obviously, you're not going to be able to do that with infusible ink or vinyl because that would be a lot of work to layer all of that. You can use what's called a DTF transfer, and that's direct to film transfer. Basically, you want to think about if you were going to be doing printable vinyl, which you could also use here, but with that, you have that layer of vinyl on here, so it's not just like in the shirt. Plus, you still have to cut all that out, and that can get kind of tricky, but the DTF will give you kind of the same results like that, but it's a lot easier to work with. And there are a lot of places that you can order customized DTF prints, or a lot of places where they already have a bunch of designs created that you just order the sizes that you need. And I will have some of those places listed below if that is something you would want to check into. If you want me to do a tutorial on how to use DTFs, I haven't personally done it before, but I'm always happy to buy all the things so you don't have to, and test them out first and then show you how to use them. So if you are still hanging out with me to the very end here today, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and watch the video that is coming up next.